Hi everybody, welcome to this episode of The Dog's Dish. And today we're going to be talking about quail eggs. These are one of the prettiest little items that you can add to your dog's meals, and they're one of the most healthy items. Eggs are always been known as nature's perfect food. And one of the best things about quail eggs for your dog is that it's a great source of fat. And fat is the most important way that your dog gets their energy. So what else are in these quail eggs that make them so great for dogs? Well, there's a lot of amino acids, vitamin A, riboflavin, folate, B12, fatty acids, and selenium. They are chock-block full of really good things for your dog. Now, quail eggs are only healthy for your dog when they're eaten in their raw format. Now, these eggs are raw and they come frozen. So you'll see on this little one here, there's a tiny little bit of the egg that's coming out. And that is because these eggshells will crack when they're frozen, but they don't crack to a degree that causes any problem. They just have little bits of the egg that will come out, but nothing to be concerned about at all. But it is important that you serve these quail eggs to your dog raw. Now, what is the difference between a quail egg and a chicken egg? Why not just feed your dog raw chicken eggs? Well, one of the concerns with chicken eggs is salmonella. And quail eggs don't have the same risk as chicken eggs do for salmonella because quails have a naturally higher body temperature. So that means the salmonella is not present in the eggs. So that's the reason why quail eggs are much better to be feeding your dog than chicken eggs. You can feed your dog chicken eggs, but they must be cooked. And as soon as they're cooked, almost half, if not more, of the nutrient and the nutritional value is lost just from the mere cooking. Even when you scramble a chicken egg, this is true for humans too, a lot of the bioavailability of the egg is lost just from the mere process of scrambling the egg. So quail eggs are smaller than chicken eggs, and so you need about 5 of these quail eggs to add up to the same as 1 chicken egg. And that's a really good thing because that means you can introduce the quail eggs to your dog at a much lower rate and you don't have to worry about any digestive issues. Even just adding 1 a day is a great benefit to your dog. Generally speaking, 2 eggs for a 20-pound dog is about right. So 1 egg for every 10 pounds. And you don't need to feed them every day. There's something that you give your dog as a bonus. You can feed them every day, and there's no reason not to, but you don't have to. These are more of a supplemental enhancement item for your dog's diet. Now, one of the things quail eggs does for your dog as well is it boosts their energy levels. It's, as I said, a really good source of fat, which is the most important source of energy for dogs. It's also really high in iron. Those 2 things combine to give your dog lots of vitality. So this is great if you have a puppy who's using up tons of energy and needs to have that energy replenished frequently, or if you have an older dog whose energy levels are starting to dip and perhaps they aren't able to they just can't eat as much as they need to. It's also quite good if you have a dog who's on a weight management and so you've cut back on their food. Throw in a quail egg, you've given them lots of the micronutrients they are losing by having less of their regular food and without adding too much extra calories to them. Now, the riboflavin in the eggs is terrific for their skin, their coat, their eyes, and just for their overall condition of their hair. Riboflavin also helps in the production of red blood cells, which is something we want to see in all of our dogs. So as I said, you want to feed this to your dog in moderation. So I would introduce just 1. Now, how do you feed them? Do you feed them whole or do you feed them cracked? Well, that depends on your dog. One of our dogs, I will put 2 of these in her dish. She's a 20-pound dog, just like this. And she just loves to eat the shell and everything. That gives her so much satisfaction. It gives the same mental satisfaction as chewing on a bone does, but without all of the other attendant issues with a bone. Your dog does not have to be on a raw food diet to eat raw quail eggs. You can easily add this on top of kibble. You can put it into cooked food, freeze-dried food, dehydrated food, whatever type of food your dog is eating, you can add the quail egg to it. So I like to start off with all of my dogs by introducing the egg to them whole. That gives them the benefit of the calcium because of course the shell has a lot of calcium in it. If they look at it and they look at me like, what on earth is this? Then I'll break it open for them. Now often what I do for some of my dogs who don't eat them whole is I break the egg in half and leave the yolk in one half and serve it like that so they have a half a shell. Now the eggs come in a package of 18. They're all really nicely and safely wrapped so they don't break in transit. And as I said, they come frozen. So if you want to thaw the egg out before you feed it, it only takes about an hour out on the counter, and then it is satisfactorily thawed to freeze to your dog. When you're mixing it in their food, you'll find the yolk is a lot more dense than a chicken egg. It takes a little bit more effort to spread it out and mix it in through their food. So when you're feeding them, you just have to do a simple crack. You just crack the shell just like you would any other egg. And then these are still a little bit frozen. And then you can serve them with the yolk in half of the shell like this and put the other bit of the shell into their bowl, or you can just have the egg come out like this and discard the shell if your dog doesn't like the shell and just feed them the yolk. And you can see that the white of the egg here is still a little bit frozen. I just took these out. So that's the story of quail eggs and why sometimes smaller is better than bigger. And these are just a fantastic addition to any dog's diet. I'll put a link in below in the written comments here that I have on this session of the Dog's Dish. And you can find quail eggs at pretty much any retailer who sells raw dog food, and particularly if they sell Big Country Raw. These quail eggs are distributed by Big Country Raw. They're 100% Canadian. They're 100% natural. The quails only eat all non-GMO food, and they are free run. And they're always antibiotic and hormone free. So it makes them a supernatural, 100% Canadian, terrific treat for your dog. We'll see you next time.